Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Mic check. Oh, microphone check. Oh, microphone check. Alright, that seems to be all checked. Alright, that seems to be all checked. Twitch background music motivation. Is this an album or let's just do this. Have that in the background there. And let's go on Bob, because we like Bob. Right, let's get going. Alright, we're just posting the stream in a few different spots. See if we can get some interest going. Oh, I forgot to mention about the Twitch drops. Alright, so we'll, as per all of the streams, we just wait kind of like 10 minutes before we really get into the bones of it, just so that people can join and see the message and things. Hi Rickett, how are you going? Today I've got a lovely cup of tea, This mug is a mug with bees. Even though I'm part of Pandemic Horde, I am a big bee enthusiast. I did a zoology degree and wrote some stuff about bees. A little bit of information about me, who I am. I like bees. How's the sound, guys? Can you guys hear me? Everything working all right? Oh, let's just try and get this to do that. There you go. Looks a bit better. Actually looking at the wrong account, which is fine. Interesting. It should be showing the other character. It says it's showing the other character. Window title must match. There you go. I'm learning. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through Planetary interaction. I think a lot of people probably watch this one as a recording, which is fine, because it's not something that you want to do super live. I'm going to turn this music down ever so slightly, just to make sure you guys can hear. So when you go onto your Neocom, if you go to industry, you notice you've got normal industry and then you've got planetary interaction. We can see that currently this character has set up his planetary interaction in C3JO. That is actually just across the Ansiblex from MJTAC, which is a nice thing for him, for this character. But it's not where I want my PI. So I'm going to be moving that PI today, and we're going to be setting up in a different spot. We're going to be doing some P1 extraction. So there is a P0. The P0 is what actually you extract from the planet. It's very, very large. It's not used in anything. It's not really a product at that point. You put it through some factories and it becomes P1. So that's the very basics of an extraction planet. That P1 is used in some construction. So sometimes you might need oxygen to make fuel blocks and things like that, and water. But mainly it will be used to create the higher tiers of PI, which are used in the more complicated construction projects like Tech 2 ships, things like that. Structures, everything really. So to make a P2 product, you get 2 P1 products. To make a P3 product, you get 2 P2 products, etc., etc. It goes up in a big Christmas tree. And at the top, we've got P4, which is very expensive. So if a water is a P1 product, and that maybe is 700 disk. Oh, I think this is the wrong. Oh, I didn't bring the ship I wanted to bring. Streamer bingo, didn't get the right ship. I gotta go back. Luckily it's only one jump, so we'll just zoom back. We need to bring a planetary interaction specific ship. So that's really the first thing you need to know about planetary interaction, I think, is that you do need to have specific ships to do it efficiently, which are very easy trains, and then also specific skills. So we'll run through all of that. I'll try and do so as I actually get in position here. So if we look at the skills, this is what I always change it to floating. I like that better. Skill catalog. And then if we go to planetary management here, we can see there are 5 planetary skills. I've got all skill selected, so I should see all of them. You'll notice I haven't trained advanced planetology. The reason for that is that planetology is to do with the resolution of how you see resources on a planet. It is nice to have, but it's not a need to have, so a lot of people will just ignore that one and not train it. Then you've got command center upgrades. This gives you, it says each level in this skill improves the quality of command facility available to you, internalizing for a greater number of connected facilities. Basically, it gives your command center more power and more CPU to do things. This one's a really important one. It's interplanetary consolidation. Increases the number of planets you can have to a maximum of 6 planets. It seems obvious, but if you've got more planets pulling stuff out, each one of those is going to be more income for you. So you want to have that maxed out if you've got the time. You can train that quite easily to level 4. You can see it's a million skill points, so it is a little bit of a commitment to train it all the way up. But you can do it to level 4, and that will get you 5 planets, which is fine. I've got planetology to level 2, and I've got remote surveying, remote sensing, which I think is potentially just a requirement for planetology. Yeah, it is. So you need level 3 for planetology. And I just like to have a little bit of planetology there. I think, do you need planetology for these? You don't. So you could just train these two if you wanted. You'd get a very granulated vision, but yeah. Yeah, the posture check thing. Oh, let's get going now. So first thing you need to do is you need to train up at least level 1 in both of these, but ideally you want to be having this trained up a fair bit. The higher your command center upgrades, the more extractors you can put on the planet, and therefore the more valuable the planet gets. And then the more planets you get, the more total value you're earning. So both of those together, trained to a high level, allows you to do a proper, like, you know, a maximum setup that you might want to do. And I'm going to be giving you an example of a maximum extraction setup, or at least what I know as a maximum extraction setup. Maybe someone's figured out a way to do it better, and that's fine if they have. I'm not here to claim to be the best at Eve. What we're doing here is teaching you how to get started, basically, and get the basics down. We want you guys to be, you know, maybe you're a month in, maybe you're 2 or 3 weeks in. We want you just to have a few more options and really enjoy the game that we love. I've been playing this game, I think, for 11 years now. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's about 11 years. You can kind of tell from your history. Science and Trade Institute. This character was created, it appears. Oh, he was a transfer character. Yeah, but he was still created 2014. And then I think I had a character that's 2012 at some point. So yeah, so a little bit of time. All right, so a few quick nice to knows is if we just go to the default view. So when you dock in a Fortizar, this is what you will start with. You'll start with the inside view when it loads. And when we have the inside view, we can view the planetary industry, and we can do things like we can move things. So we could maybe try and move this here. It would let us try and do that. But what we cannot do is we cannot move stuff from this upwards. However, there is a trick. If you do view outside, for some reason, this now considers you in the space of the system. And when you're in the space of a system, you can access the customs office remotely, and you can move things. So we're going to transfer those to the customs office. And now if we look at the view planetary, it's moved, it's gone up to space, which gives us a little bit more room. We can do this. We can do it. It's a transfer over here. You'll notice this has a cooldown, so we can only do this once every 3 hours. So you make sure you want to do it. You know, make sure that is what you want to do. There we go. And access customs office. So the first thing we've got to do when we're moving our PI, or the first thing that we maybe should do, you don't have to do this, is just go around and clear out all of our planets. We don't want to waste any resources, obviously. That would be silly. So again, we'll just access the customs office, transfer. There's going to be a lot of repetition here, so you should get the gist of it. As we repeat, I'll try and explain the basic concepts involved. So we've got the I don't even know what the names are, the control unit, and that's got extractor nodes. The extractor nodes, you can see, have got a little blue sphere around them. That shows you the area they're extracting, so you can, that will get bigger and smaller. So if we'll go for an install extraction, so we'll stop that, and then if we increase the time, notice these get bigger and they start to overlap, and you can see the overlap here. So there's one here that's got 34% overlap. It's probably this one, maybe. If we move him, suddenly he's not got a 34% overlap. You'll notice that as we go higher in the days, this is a 2-week pull. The average per hour is 11,000, and we get 3.6 million. If we go back down to where we were, which was, I think, was 3 days, which suits my lifestyle. Essentially, I work, most of my shifts are 3-day shifts. So what I'll try and do is, before I go on shifts, I'll try and set the PI going, and then when I finish the shifts, I'll go and check the PI, and that seems to work relatively well for me. But you can see there, in 3 days, we pull in 2,300,000, or alternatively, actually, let's do 2 days for a better, easier maths. So 2 days, 1.9 million, 2 weeks, 3.6. So it's vastly more efficient to do smaller pulls, but smaller pulls are harder to manage because you need to constantly reset it, right? So I don't know exactly the maths on this, but someone told me that 1 day pulls are basically optimal. So a 1 day pull is 1.2 million. This is how, if you're using PI as one of your major income sources and you're doing extraction planets, this is how you optimize. You go for 1 day, and every single day you log in and you do it. Now, even if you miss an hour and you're an hour late or 2 hours late or 3 hours late, this will still be more than if you'd done 2 days, right? So those 2 hours that you've wasted still be more than 2 days. And then if you miss it for 2 or 3 days and it's not running, then you start to lose out. But yeah, 1 days are like the super optimal way to do things. You can see as well, we didn't completely edit there, so it didn't actually take. So there was a little red cross. When the red cross is there, it means that the planet is not functioning as it should. You know, it's not extracting properly, or maybe the factories aren't all getting supplied. So the red crosses are your little heads up to go and look at that planet and figure out what's going on. If an extraction cycle finishes, you get a red cross, which is useful. There's lots and lots of clicking involved in PI. If that is not for you, maybe you're somebody who's got something like arthritis, and it is too much clicking, then PI is not going to be the one for you. Maybe you want to do something slightly more passive with your Eve. You can limit the amount of clicking you're doing. So once you set up PI, it's not extraction planets in particular, because you have to withdraw the resources a lot. But if you've got a factory planet, which we'll showcase in a second, then you might just need to put things in once every few days, and it's just boop, 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 done. And that should be making you a fair bit of ISK. We discussed it in the 101 yesterday, but PI is basically a massive supply and demand thing because it's completely open to anyone in the game. Planets that you can extract PI from exist all over Eve, and all of the different resources in PI are all through Eve. So there isn't anything that's locked into one area. The difference you'll find is the quality of planets changes. So that affects how much resources come out of the planet. And the best quality planets are in, I believe, wormhole space has some of the best, but low security nullsec has very, very good planets as well. And you can see that these planets are quite productive. You know, I'm getting 71,600 toxic metals there, which is 13,000 M3. It's quite a lot of stuff. Done that one. Have we done the toxic metals? We have. It's showing us the P0 that's in the factories, and then there's actually a little bit of it in the storage as well, which is fine. So next up, we're going to undock. I'm going to go and get those. We're using an Epiphal. An Epiphal is the only ship in the game that is specialized in particular for planetary interaction. So you get 10% bonus to planetary commodity hold capacity for every level of Galente hauler. So that's a pretty big boost, given that you're also the only ship in the game that has a planetary commodities hold. So you can get to, I've got 67,000. I don't think this character has perfect Caldari. Let's see. Where is it? He does have perfect. So this is the maximum you will get, 67,500, which is just slightly less than you would get if you were using a Tech 2, I think Deep Space Transport is the term. But a Tech 2 Deep Space Transport costs you 200 plus million ISK, and a Epiphal should cost you less than 5 million ISK. So the risk is much less. This is definitely the ship I would recommend you using to go and get your PI. If I'm sitting here and I've got my PI and somebody attacks me, the first thing you do is you grab the PI and you put it back in the customs office, and they cannot get it at that point. and they will just kill your cheap 5 million ISK ship. Alternatively, they would have killed 52 million ISK worth of PI. So that's 10 times as much I've just saved, right? There's no fee to move it in and out of the customs office, as you can see. There's no cooldown, it's just instant. The fees you get are when you move it from the launch pad to the customs office. That's where you get tax, and that is taxed at 10%, and it's 10% of what the game thinks the average PI is worth. This is a tax rate that is set up by the person who owns the POCO. You might very, very rarely find a POCO in HiSec that is still owned by the non-player corp, and those are all set to 10%. But typically it's set by the player owned group. So in Horde space, we have the valuable extraction planets are set at 10%, and then the non-valuable extraction planets, which we call factory planets, are set at 2%. So this is where we encourage people to build to merge the PI together. So these barons, and I think also maybe it's one of a kind, I think. So we tax those a little bit less. Because if you're pulling, we need the advanced components that are created by PI, and if you're pulling those off a planet, it's suddenly becomes very expensive. When you're pulling items worth, you know, maybe 1 billion ISK you'll be putting in the epifile, that can get really expensive really quickly. 1 billion ISK is a very high estimate. You know, not most PI trips are not going to be 1 billion ISK. They're going to be more in the range of this, which is, you know, we're at 100 million already, quite a bit. It's probably going to top out about 150. You can see there's a little bit of variance in how much they're worth, but everything's generally worth 400 to 700 ISK with P1. So even if you get it wrong, you're only losing out on like 40%. It's not like insane if you're doing the lowest tier thing. P1 is something that people do buy if you price it appropriately. Someone will buy it for definite. That is something that definitely will happen if you go and list this in MJTAC, which this character, he's just in C3JO. The extraction planets are okay there, and the reason he's not in MJ is because I can do this. I can look at local and I can actually tell who's here. Whereas if I did PI in MJ, it's a Hunter Central, and these epiphiles do get killed a lot in MJ. So just move it 1 or 2 jumps out, and then do that little trip with the epiphile back through the Ansiblexes or whatever, just to get it back to MJ. I'm hoping, I think this is going to be it's too big, so what we're going to do is we're just going to put a little bit of this in the Fortizar, and then get our last little bit. So let's open up this one. So if you're wondering how do we deconstruct, so this is the command center, and we're just going to click this, proceed, submit, gone. And now I have a spare planetary ready. Quite quick, quite easy. I'm pretty sure that was one that we'd pulled everything off already. Let's quickly go and grab this last little bit. This whole lesson's probably going to take about an hour. Is it possible to fund Omega with PI only, or is that not realistic? If you get a well-funded PI setup, you can fund Omega purely through it, but that might be one of your accounts. Typically, with all of these passive income streams, unless you're mega rich, so the guys who are kind of, if you could buy Planetary 3 and make it into Planetary 4, you could maybe do that on 3 characters and just have all factory planets. And if you could buy the Planetary 3 at the right rate, you'd be moving so much ISK that if you could sell that P4, even if you're only making 10% profit, the amount of ISK that's moving through, you would probably skimp enough to plex that account. However, that is an extremely unrealistic thing. So I would say that no, planetary interaction is not something that you can plex the account on by itself. A P1 setup like I've got here, if you've skilled into it, so if you skilled into it, it's just level 4 maybe, and you've got 5 planets, you can pull in somewhere in the region of 100 million ISK a week. If you're doing the 1-day pulls, you should be able to make 100 million ISK easily on one character. And then you've got 3 characters, so if you times that by 3, so you have 300 million ISK a week, and times that by 4 to make a month, then it's 300 million times 4, so you can maybe get 1.2 billion ISK. At the moment, plexing your account costs 2.5, so it's about halfway there. And that would be for a very basic setup. You would be doing it every day. You'd be making just over 1 billion ISK a month. And that is an inefficient version. You can make more than that. People do make more than that. You know, I'm not saying that that's the best way, but that gives you a rough idea of what we're talking about here with PI. You can see just the general life of nullsec happening behind us there. So we've extracted from all of the planets. We've got everything off. I need to find my... I like to chuck my thingies out of the way. We'll decommission you. Oh, we have to submit. Always have to submit with PI. Otherwise it doesn't take. This one's been put a bit closer. That's easier. That this can be built on top of by the other structures, so you know, doesn't... Well, I think it can be built on top of, or very near to. We'll see. Well, we're going to be building them in a second. Okie doke. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the most valuable stuff, which is not titanium. It's going to be that one, and then as much of this as we can cram in. And what's toxic metals worth? You worth more than you? Just. So we've got 224 million ISK. I think this was a 6-day pull. This is one character, 6 days, 224 million ISK. Pretty good, you know? You get this right with the P1 stuff, and you get something that people need a lot of in your area, like maybe the electrolytes, then you can make a fair bit of money. They are worth having at level 5 if you're a player who has the space to train that. I wouldn't, not all of them. So early on in the video, we had to talk about the skills. Let's see if it'll get them up for me again. So planetology and advanced pelotology and remote sensing I wouldn't get those to 5. The advantage of being able to see exactly where the hotspots are on a planet, it's not really an advantage. It's maybe more useful in difficult planets where the resources are thin, maybe in high sec, but if you're doing PI on those planets, just don't do PI on those planets. Just go to more lucrative planets. You know, this sounds really cynical, but you know, say you're a high sec dude and you have some alts that you don't use, maybe just make them join Horde or join Goons or join, you know, whoever owns a nullsec empire, and just have them be PI alts in Hull and Nord, and then you can sell it directly to those empires, and the productivity of those planets is going to be, you know, 60 to like 80% higher than the high sec ones. It can be really nuts how much more you make, and you'll have an active market in that area to buy it straight off you. So, and you can do that, like, you know, those alts, yeah, they might be in a nullsec alliance, but a lot of EVE players worry about, oh, I'm going to be tarred as you were a goon or you were a horde person. That's not really a thing unless you're like very vocal. If you just kind of sit along by the sidelines and just do your own thing, then you could switch and join the other side pretty easily. You just explain what you were doing and it'll be obvious what you were doing because ESI scopes, etc. And the group you're in don't mind that either, because you're not leeching off them. You're being part of their empire. You know, you're producing PI that they're gaining from, and at the very minimum, even if you're making PI and exporting it out to Jita to sell, they're still taking that little bit of tax off you when you export it, so they're still, you know, making their little bit. So kind of a mutually beneficial thing for PI. I would heavily advise, unless you're doing factory planets, to just not bother doing PI in high sec. It's just really not worth it. Maybe if your character is a high sec mission runner and it's never going to come to null, maybe then. But yeah, so definitely tangented there. I think that's okay. I think that was a relatively interesting tangent to talk about. Kind of a bit of EVE Online politics. So you can see this is pretty much what my characters have made in like the last 2 weeks. I have 6 planetary interaction characters, and it's all Planetary 1, it's a billion-esque. So that's not going to plex my accounts, those 2 accounts, but it's a step in the right direction, definitely. That in combination with other things, very useful. I'm going to sell this to a buyback, but you can see that the pricing here in nullsec is pretty good. The game thinks this is worth 390, but because there's a high demand for this in nullsec, it's obviously selling for more. And in looking at the volumes here, we've got quite a good volume, so that'll be useful for someone. Bacteria is another one that's quite useful. Chiral is hard to extract, so it's always worth a lot. Looks like someone's put a bit of a low order in. This is a good thing to learn about the market. So they put 285,000 at 750. They want to sell that. Let's look at the volumes. At least 500,000, 400,000 sells most days, and some days someone comes in and buys tons. So I would just leave this at a higher price at like 800 for a week or two. None of these orders are older than a few months, like a month or two. So you can list these quite comfortably at 800, 880, and they'll sell. Little bit of adding in the marketing. Not many electrolytes on the public market here, so that's spiked up. Somebody's gone and bought them all. Just having a very quick scan. Not many proteins, not many toxic metals, and water is used in fuel, and in nullsec fuel is used a lot, and you can see that. So 1 million is what it's telling us, 1 million units. So loads of water needed. So there's some interesting things that happen with the P1. I have 30 alpha alt. Is it worth it to do PI and nullsec with them, or is that just stupid? I think PI doesn't work very well with alphas. You would probably know better because you're an alpha. You maybe be able to quickly log into one. But I think you get limited on what skills you can train, right? How far can you train PI on an alpha? But I mean, if you can... Alphas are weird. Like, if you want to put the effort in and make plexing your account through millions of alpha accounts, no PI on alphas. There you go. None at all. So you can't. I know somebody who set up loads of alphas to have the 1 industry slot they get, or the 2 or 3 industry slots. I think it's 1 though. And they would log in every account and then start a 3-day build, log in the next account, start a 3-day build, and they would build lots of things with single industry slots on alphas, and then they use the money they made from that profit to plex 1 Omega account, which to me just seems like a lot of work. Like, I'm not judging anyone. There are situations in the world where putting, there might not be a job for you in the real world. You might not be able to get a job, and therefore the £15 or whatever it is a month is a lot, and that effort of doing those alphas makes more sense to you. You just gotta do that yourself. But always just remember that if you can make 15, 20 pounds in the real world, you can buy Omega, and it might take you a lot less time than grinding away at Eve. I do these PI things for fun. I do these PI things because they're integral to an nullsec empire working, and I like being part of that, and I find that interesting. It's not to make money, but I do understand that we all want to make money as well. We like money. Have I got some money? I've got money. 3.8 billion ish. We love it. Love the money. Okay, let's move on. So next up, I am gonna first of all figure out the system I need to go to. Which how can I do that? Bear with me, guys. I'm looking for a pin in a Discord of somebody wanting me to set up PI somewhere, so I'm going to do that. Here we go. This one, I think. So I'm not going to move from MJTAC before I figure out what PI I want to build, and I can do it remotely. So I've been told that somebody would like me to do P1 PI here, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to go and help them out there. what we're going to do is we're going to open up the orbital bodies tab, and we're going to look at the planets that exist there. So we're going to show info, planetary industry, view. We can, I think we can scan it. I think I have the skills. Yeah, so this is where you get your light year skills in. So we can scan this planet, find out how good it is. And it actually tells you. So resource density, 61%, 52%, 57%, 23%. So the highest resource density on this planet is base metals. Do we want that? Maybe we want oxygen. I remember we said oxygen is useful, electrolytes are useful, and water is useful. Now, water you can find in so this is a bit of knowledge that you'll pick up over the time you play Eve. But there are planets, but basically oceanic planets that are just water, and they'll have like 80-90% water. So you want to kind of think what is just going to be on a gas planet. I always like to do oxygen on gas planets because they have these big bands. There's a huge band there. That being a solid white line pretty much tells me that no one is extracting the oxygen there. You can actually view, I think you can view other people's stuff, show other characters' networks, and we can quickly see. I don't think anyone's on this planet yet. It's like a fresh planet. When you view networks, you'll literally just see the command center, just one. Yeah, this looks like it's a clean planet. So we're going to want, so we need to pick 6 things. So we're going to want 1 gas. So gas, command. Hopefully there are some here. This would be embarrassing if there's not. There you go. You'll notice these are a little bit more expensive than HiSec. They're very big. They take a lot of money to import. We actually have a command center hold here. And weirdly, it can fit 6 command centers. What a coincidence. But that's useful. So we can go back here. I used a mouse button to do that, but you can click here. There's another gas. There's another gas. There's a storm, a baron, and a baron. So this will be quite a good planet system thing to do an oxygen churn. So we're going to just get loads of oxygen. Yeah. So that guy's going to be a gas. That's 1 more gas. Oh, getting confused. 1, 2. I mean, we already know what this is going to be, but yeah, oxygen again. 3. So 3 gas. So let's buy 2 more. Thank you very much, whoever imported these command centers. Very useful of you. Now let's look at the storm. View planetary industry. So the storm has tons of base metals and tons of plasmoids. Let's just look. What does base metals do? He makes reactive metals. And then reactive metals can make CPUs, nanofactories, mechanical parts, construction blocks, and nanites. All of these things are used a lot. So reactive metals is great. We're gonna go and get some reactive metals from that planet. So we're up to 3 planets now. Oh. Storm. Let's just double check this storm, but we're assuming. So this one's not got quite as good reactive metals. It's got pretty good water, pretty good oxygen. It's got pretty good reactive metals. We'll do another reactive metals there because 2 is better than 1. So that's 5, and then we can just choose what we want to do with one of these barons. So probably have a double check which one is the better baron, because there's usually one that's better. Bacteria is always good. We can get more reactive metals. Possibly we'll just get more reactive metals. And again, so that one there, that's the last one. You can get noble metals, but there's not so many of them there. So we're going to get the 3 gas. We're going to get 2 storms. Did I just buy 1? Sometimes I amaze myself. So these storms have been imported and someone's put them at a slightly cheaper price. So that's awesome. Even more thanks to that person. Baron. And one of these. Alright, so we're all set. I'm not going to scout myself because YOLO. And also on stream and all that kind of good stuff. But let's set destination. And let's go over and start construction. No. Do we have any skins? Oh no, we don't have any skins on this character, I don't think. Can check. Oh, we do. We can be yellow. So you can see that those barren planets, what the thing with barons is they don't really offer anything special. You can get everything on a baron on other planets, and usually in higher percentages. Barons are kind of, as they say, barren, and that's where they're used a lot for factory planets. When we set up, there are a few little tips and tricks for setting up the planets as well that I'll show you. There's quite a few EVE Online streamers on today. Pando's on, Marquis on, somebody called Milk on Edge. I don't recognise that. We'll try and follow one of those at the end of the stream. What are the Twitch drops today? Does anyone know? I don't know what the Twitch drops are. So here you go. So you've got the Crimson Harvest W4.2 skin. I think it's the Brutix skin at the moment. We've not got dead yet, and I'm not really paying attention. I don't really understand the drops, I'm not going to lie. But apparently you're getting drops by watching this, and it just kind of happens. Which is always cool. Oh yeah, it says there, drops enabled. That's thanks to Bjornsby the other day. It's very nice of him. Somebody's left some drones there. Oh, 3 drones. Oh, there's a bad guy in this system. Hopefully he doesn't catch me. Can we turn our D-scanner on? Set the range up a little bit. Doesn't look like we're going to get killed. Wonder who he is. The Gorham Shiny Alliance. So it's a little bit of a journey away from MJ. I wouldn't recommend setting up your PI this far from a trade hub if you, if you're going to be selling in that trade hub. But I'm actually not. I'm going to be selling in the system that I make it because someone's going to use it. They're going to use it on their PI planets and turn it into P2. And then as you combine PI and get the higher tiers, the M3, so the size of the PI, actually reduces. So, by the time you get to the P4 item is quite big, but compared to all of the inputs you've put into it, it's vastly smaller. So you're condensing the whole way up, and it becomes easier to move things around. And also those items are more valuable for the size they are, so it then becomes more worthwhile to use things like a jump freighter or anything like that. Oi oi Savaloy. How's things, Zach? Oh, Zach's been doing really good videos where he's like getting content from other players. He did a guy sent him a load of PvP clips, and it was really cool. He made like a PvP video for this guy. And to be honest, it was really, really decent PvP clips, man. Like, that guy did well. Just done editing at the moment. Oh, you can listen to my soothing voice as you edit. Talking about planetary interaction today. Flying around in our yellow Epiphal. Gonna go make some extraction planets. Yeah, that is proper old school, like just going in there brawling. I did a bit of a faction warfare yesterday, and like a 7-man gang tried to catch me in my Thrasher, and I managed to like outkite them, and then they dived me with a interceptor, killed the interceptor, and managed to like wiggle out. It was pretty nice. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go and sit on the tether at this structure. My girlfriend's just walked past the room and given me kind of I'm laughing at you right now because you're streaming about computer game look. Looking for a nice pew for my mecha ball. A mecha ball would have been like exactly the same result. It would have been great. Yeah. Yeah, that'll stop though. Like you've only got 14 days to wait, and then there'll be loads of mecha balls everywhere. It'll be the new hot thing. It's not that much better than the old Thrasher Navy issue though, is it? Unfortunately. Look at this thing. Oh shit. Shouldn't be here. Don't look at that. Oops. Let's go and sit at this one instead. So, as I said, we're going to sit on tether. We're going to set up our PI. That's not what we want to do. So we literally just want to click on the solar system, view planetary industry. We've got them in our cargo hold. We're in space. These are the two things that you need to do. We said we were going to go for oxygen, didn't we? We're going to just increase our search parameter there. We can see that this top bit is more valuable than the bottom bit. And then in particular, this little slice here, maybe. That's a fat slice there, actually. Let's go for that one. Build, gas command center. Boom. There we go. Then we're going to upgrade this. Upgrade button. We're just flying through this. Costs us 6 million ISK. It's quite expensive to upgrade these, but that's okay. Fully upgraded. Submit. We're just going to unclick here. One thing you can do if you're on a tether is you can make a bookmark on tether, and then you can just approach the bookmark, and that way if somebody tries to bump you off, you will start moving back towards it. You can turn on your prop mod as well to give you a bit more force. But anyway, so there's no industrial activity on this one. That's fully upgraded. So the next thing to do is to put a gas, let's make sure the scan's doing the right thing. So we'll put a gas extractor control unit in. Now this ideally wants to be able to see everything that you're going to be getting. So we can do it maybe like this, just in case this oxygen sometimes will shift and move. So we'll submit him. We want 2 storage facilities. We can do 1, but I prefer 2. 1 launch pad. I want these very close to each other. And you want basic industry. So if you're doing extraction, you only need the basic industry. I think we can build 4 from memory. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. One of the things that EVE Online players are requesting and have been requesting for years is that you can just set up a template, put this down, and then it just expands a template and just bam, everything gets built. Which I completely agree with. Or maybe we can do more. Is it 6? I think it's 6. Let's go for 6. Maybe it's 8. But anyway, let's create the links. So this, so let's submit links. So we want, oh, I know what's happened here. It's not 8. Any way to turn up for voice? I can turn up for voice for you a little bit. I mean, if you just increase the volume of the stream, that's one way, and I can turn down the, I mean, you shouldn't really be able to hear the music because it's so low. But yeah, I would just turn the stream up. You most likely have your stream low. Yeah, I know, exactly. I completely agree on the we can save ship things. Why can't we save this? So the reason why we've got loads of power left is because we've not installed the program yet. So we want to get noble gas, I think. Yep, noble gas. And we want to do 3-day extractions. Whoop. And then we want to click on all of these. Ding, 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 ding. And you can see we can't build anymore, so we need to destroy some of these. So destroy you, destroy you. It is 4, I was right. Kill all those. These extractor heads are very expensive, but we want lots of them. You'll notice we can put extractor heads on top of production structures. Doesn't change anything. It's no problem. We've got a crossover somewhere. There you go. 2.7 million. That's really good. Actually, don't look at the millions. I look at the daily 33,000. Anything above 20,000 is pretty acceptable for me. Let's make some links. So these are the roads. Zoom in there. That one didn't build. Usually we have to upgrade some of these. So, products. We've got some noble gas coming in. And we want to move that to here. We want to move half. So literally it's going to be 124, so it's 62,000. Create route. Submit. Then we want to build another route. So this one's routed, this one's not routed. Create route. Send you here. Create route. Submit. So now all of the input from all these extractor heads is going into 2 storage tanks. Now these have got a lot more space than the other structures, and it gives us a buffer. So it's going to hit there, and then it's going to decide whether it can go into these. This next bit is a lot of clicking. So we want to make oxygen, don't we? Let's just double check. Noble gas, yep, that goes into oxygen. Create products, oxygen. We want to send that. No, we don't. We want to send it to the back to the factory. Like this. Create, submit. Now what it does, it's very clever. It will already be on oxygen. And you can actually do this, I think. No. Haha, I was wrong. Create route, here, create route. Install, create route, there you go. Install products, create route. Loads of clicking. Loads and loads of clicking. Make sure this is on the right side. Oh, didn't actually click it. Create route. There we go. Create. Oh, done it again. Bit annoying. Can you actually just click? What am I doing here? There you go. Oh, you can just click. There you go. One less step. Yeah, I've just figured that out. Super green. My brain, like my subconscious, was thinking this is wrong, and then finally my brain caught up to the subconscious. So then we're going to reroute. So we want to create. Yeah, There we go, create now. So it takes out exactly how much it needs and no more. I just deleted the root. There we go, made it again. Submit that. You'll notice that this one here is now yellow and doesn't have the red ring around it. That means that it is successfully rooted and things will go in and come out, which is what we want. You can double click there, so click this, click that, double click where you want it to go. Click this, click there, double click. There you go. Now we're cooking. Create this route. Alright. Submit. One planet. Done. What's going to happen then is that this is going to send stuff here. It's going to go to the factories. The factories are going to send it back. And then I'm going to check this every so often. So every 3 days I'm going to check. These will be a little bit full. I'll move them into here. And then I'll move them up to space. You'll see here we are 98.8%. So this is pretty much perfect for how you can do it, as far as I'm aware. Go to the next one and just keep going. Bear with me. So yeah, so that's pretty much how you do an extraction planet. I'm going to come back later on and finish off all of these other ones. You don't need to see that. We've seen one example. I'm just going to dock this character up and I'm going to load another character who's got a factory planet to show you that. Because it's slightly different setup. There are planets where you can extract 2 types of P0. Turn them into P1 and then have more factories to turn that P1 into combined together and do P2 on one planet. And a lot of people say that that's a really it's a really passive way to do PI because it condenses, right? So I would have to go and unload those P1 planets more often than you would have to unload that planet that makes P2 just on its own. So this guy has a factory planet. This one? No, that's an extraction. So this is a factory planet. Oh good, is this? Oh no, it's just the produce. So we've got the coolant, so we'll move the coolant here. And this planet, what I do is I take electrolytes and water and I put them into one of these launch pads, and then I send it to this storage, and the storage automatically routes it to these. So you see they've got some electrolytes there, it's just waiting for some water. Actually, can I actually send this guy over and clear it out, start up again? We don't need to do that right now. So you can see that this setup is 1, 2, 3 water planets, 2 electrolyte planets, and then I just grab all of that, chuck it in here and make coolant. So that's an example of how one character can make P2. Load of extraction planets and 1 factory planet. Every time I put it in, it made about a third of this. So it makes about 5,000 coolant each run. Every time I fill up the storage boxes from there. And then I'm not often in this system, so it's a bit of a faff for me. But if I lived around here, it would be better if I had this on a character that lived in that space. He would be able to do this a bit easier. But yeah, that's an example of how to make a P2 system with 1 character. And this coolant will be worth similar. It's worth kind of a few hundred million, 156 million ISK. It's just a more useful item for the Alliance to have. So even though I could probably make more just doing P1 in the lazy boy style that I do, because there's not enough input here. So I only run this factory planet maybe 2 days of the week. I should have more more stuff coming in more often, and then it would be more efficient. You can figure that all out. There's loads of spreadsheets and things that figure out how many extraction planets you'll need to support a factory planet, etc., etc. You'll notice the factory planet's on the barren because of that tax thing we talked about. Putting stuff in and out of a planet gets taxed both times, so yeah, you wanna have a cheap tax on that. Let's send some money while we're here. And that's it. Have anyone got any final questions? We've been going for pretty much an hour exactly now, which is how long I like to do my streams. I don't like them to be too long. So if anyone's got any questions, let me know. Shouldn't one storage be enough for import after the volumes got halved? So basically the concept with the storage is how long do you want the PI to be able to running before you need to empty it. So I use the storage and the storage in the spaceport, and I fill up all of it, and then I go and extract, which takes me up to about 2 weeks, a week and a half, 2 weeks to fill all of that, and that's why I do it that way. Laziness, basically. You can do it different ways and have more efficiency and be quicker, but you have to pay more attention to it, which I do not want to do. I don't want to be doing PI because it's very easy to burn out on PI. It can be very tedious, very annoying. Alright guys, well, you guys have a lovely day. I'm gonna post this one, add it to the list of videos, and yeah, that's it for today. Have a good one.